Thor Love and Thunder has been released in theaters. I was able to see it last week, but I wanted to hold off this review until most people got a chance to see it, because this will be a spoiler-filled review. Now, Thor Love and Thunder has gotten very mixed reviews. I feel like I've been saying that a lot on this channel, but it's happened again. And I can definitely see why this movie is getting mixed reviews. It's been a week since I've seen this film, and I'm still very conflicted in my thoughts about this movie. But I will say that Thor Love and Thunder is a pretty good movie. It's not my favorite Thor movie. I still prefer the first Thor and Ragnarok to this movie, but it is better than The Dark World. This movie has a lot to talk about, and it's pretty complicated, so let's not waste any time and get started. We should start off with the comedy, because this is front and center in the movie, and it's the main reason why people are so mixed on this movie. I'm even mixed about the comedy. I'd say about half the jokes land. Jokes that usually land are the ones that have many layers to them, or that are somehow relatable to our everyday life. They bring the play scene back from Ragnarok. They also have Matt Damon back as Loki, and they also add Melissa McCarthy as Hela, and that for my money, that was even better than play in Ragnarok. The Old Spice commercial was hilarious. The way this movie ends is with a joke, and it is Thor looking after Gore's child, and it's pretty funny. They are bickering. They're bickering with each other, and it's pretty cute and funny. This is the most recurring joke where Jane is wielding Mjolnir, and Thor is trying to get him back, but Stormbreaker is essentially jealous. So it's essentially a love triangle between Thor, Mjolnir, and Stormbreaker, and that's a really clever joke. And they do a lot of different stuff with it, and most of it lands. However, the jokes that do not land are the ones that are just like 5-second jokes that are meant to get a quick laugh of you, and that's definitely the part that undermines some of the emotional moments. Not to say that all of them are bad. There are a few genuinely funny ones, but I'd say about 75% of them fall flat. That's a pretty big problem, considering that the 5-second jokes are the main jokes that they put into this film. The action in here is really good. What surprised me the most about it is that there's not much of it. There's shockingly little compared to most Phase 4 MCU projects, and I really appreciated that. I liked how they kind of put the action aside so that they could tell the story instead of having a bunch of action scenes. But it's not like there's no actions. It's not like there's no action scenes. There's quite a few action scenes. I'd say like 4 or 5, and they're all good. They use a variety of different styles. Never makes the action feel boring or bland. Like the black and white fight between Thor and Gore was really unique to the MCU, and I like that they tried something different with that fight scene. There's also unique skills that some characters have, like for example, Jane throws Mjolnir. There's many moments where Mjolnir part and attacks all the villains. Really creative, and you don't really see that amount of creativity in a Marvel movie as of late. The characters are all really strong. Thor is probably the best that he's ever been in terms of his solo movies. I know that some people think that he's dumb in here, but I don't really think that he's dumb. Kind of a wacky dude in here, and I really like that. He's pretty funny, and there's a lot of things that they do in terms of his character to keep him fresh. And like they bring back Jane and Mjolnir and make him go up against Gore. So there's a lot of things that are thrown at Thor to keep him interesting. He's definitely the best character in the movie, and Chris Hemsworth does a really good job of playing him. Jane is also really good. While Natalie Portman doesn't really give a groundbreaking performance, she's still really good in this movie. Jane definitely has the most important storyline in this movie, and because she's battling with cancer, and then she gets called by Mjolnir and becomes Mighty Thor, and she's fighting with cancer while also becoming the Mighty Thor, but her being the Mighty Thor is killing her even faster. So she's definitely the most important character in this movie, and so they needed to get her right, and they do. I like the transformation from girlfriend to superhero, because in Thor and Thor the Dark World, she was just kind of the love interest, didn't really do much, but in here she gets her time to shine, and that's pretty cool. Now, Gore was fantastic. Christian Bale gives the best performance of the entire movie. Legitimately scary, and he there were moments where I was clenching up because of the way he was acting. There's like a scene where he's kidnapped some kids and he's basically keeping the sense of fear in these kids alive as long as possible, and the things he does to them is pretty messed up. And while Korg isn't a main character, he still gets plenty of good and funny moments. I heard that some people didn't like that he was just ahead in halfway through the movie, but I actually kind of like that choice. It's easy to make a choice like that and have it go south, but they did a really good job in here, and it added even more physical comedy to him. Now, the disappointing characters in here were Zeus and Valkyrie. From the get-go, Zeus is established as a figure that Thor looks up to, and the way he acts to Jane, Valkyrie, and Korg doesn't make it seem like he would be a role model to Thor. He just acts really selfish, and I know that's part of the joke. I didn't really like the way that he was portrayed in here. While Valkyrie isn't bad in here by any means, she just doesn't do much. She's pretty much sidelined. She's only got like 1 or 2 scenes to fully connect with Jane or Thor or someone like that, and then 2/3 into the movie, she just gets injured and doesn't show up for pretty much the rest of the movie, and that's pretty disappointing to me. Now let's move on to the story. The story is great. The movie has quite a few stories mixed into one being Jane fighting with cancer and Thor trying to find his purpose. Meanwhile, Gore is butchering a bunch of gods, and Thor has to go up against him. And I thought they all meshed really well together. I also liked how the third act took a bit of a turn. There's a part where they face Gore, and you think that the movie's ending, but it doesn't. There's still like 25 to 30 minutes left. And while that could be annoying sometimes, because you're like, oh, I thought the movie was going to end, but there's still 30 minutes left. But it worked really here. It was a very subversion of expectation, and it also gave time for Thor to have an arc. Jane is dying because she's wielding Mjolnir, and Thor feels like he has the weight of her on his shoulders, and he doesn't want her to go into battle because he's afraid of losing her. He sets off to fight Gore by himself at first, but when Jane does come to fight Gore, Thor learns to let go of Jane. I really like that storyline. Did something similar with that in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange had to learn to let go of Christine, and I kind of wish there was more of it in here, because Thor: Love and Thunder did it so well that I think that it would have been done maybe even better if they did it more in Multiverse of Madness. Now, the post-credit scenes are pretty good. They're not like mind-blowing or anything, and they're definitely not the best MCU post-credit scenes, but I'd say that they are worth sticking around for after the credits to see what happens, and they are much better than Doctor Strange 2's post-credit scenes. Overall, Thor: Love and Thunder is a pretty good movie. It's got a bit of overbearing humor, and there are parts where the movie doesn't seem like it should be it doesn't take itself as nearly as seriously as it should. But if you just want to have a fun time and shove popcorn in your mouth and go to the theater, then Thor: Love and Thunder will satisfy you in that regard. But if you just wait for this to come to Disney Plus, then I don't think you'll be missing out as much, because this isn't like a theater-worthy experience like something like Spider-Man No Way Home. If you're just willing to accept a fun Thor movie with a bunch of comedy in it, then you should have a decent enough time. I'm giving Thor: Love and Thunder a 7 out of 10. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll be back soon with more videos. You can also follow me on social media. I'll have that linked in the description. That's it for me today, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye. It's electric. Are you lost in your time?